Warm welcome to Seabed and Bunkers Communication Television, and we are reaching you on our YouTube channel. War risk insurance provides financial protection against losses resulting from events such as war, invasions, terrorism, and other violent political upheavals. Stakeholders in the maritime industry have applauded the Maritime Reporters Association of Nigeria MARAN for beaming its searchlight on the need for the federal government to work towards reviewing or outright removing of the current war risk insurance premium and other risk surcharges imposed on vessels entering the Nigerian ports, since issues of piracy and attacks have stopped for a good period of time in the Gulf of Guinea. These and many more were part of the discussions at the just concluded third edition lecture tagged MAMA 2025, hosted by MARAN, with the theme addressing the burden of war risk insurance on Nigeria's maritime trade. The Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Chief Adeboyega Oyetola, who was represented by Dr. Bolaji Akinola, the Special Advisor to the Minister on Media and Communication, said there is no justification for the war risk insurance surcharges.
Number one is the short term, which I believe will produce good results very soon. We are engaging with the international shipping communities, especially international insurers and underwriters, to drive home the new narrative concerning our waterways, because the old narrative was that the Gulf of Guinea was infested with piracy. And don't forget, here we are talking about the Gulf of Guinea, not only Nigerian waters. We have cleared and rid our waters of piracy. But in the Gulf of Guinea, there are occasional incidents. And the war risk premium that we are talking about applies to the Gulf of Guinea. But by virtue of the Deep Blue project that Nigeria has been spearheading, the incidents in the Gulf of Guinea have also reduced substantially. So there is no longer justification for war risk insurance. So driving home this narrative to the international shipping community, to insurers abroad, I mean all the insurers of these vessels we are talking about are abroad, is the major task at hand. And we've been doing that. NEMASA, the Director General of NEMASA and his team, has been working with the Honorable Minister to make sure that we pass this message across. And I'm very optimistic that
The flag officer commanding the Western Naval Command, Rear Admiral Mike Gregory Oamen, was represented by Captain Olarinwaju Ogini, while delivering his lecture, stressed the need for the Nigerian Navy to be funded.
Commend the efforts of MARAN, especially having this vision on the need to change the narrative as regards the burden of the war risk insurance on Nigeria's maritime. The purpose of this lecture today is to dispel the myth of high war risk insurance on Nigeria by providing a data-driven analysis of the state of maritime security in Nigeria from the Nigerian Navy. The effort has also contributed to the zero incidents of piracy, as Nigeria was delisted from the piracy-prone countries in the last quarter of 2022. National Maritime Bureau Piracy and Armed Robbery Against Ships report, Nigeria 33 incidents in 2017, 44 in 2018, 35 in 2019, 35 in 2020, and 6 in 2021. There were no attacks in 2022, and 2 reported incidents in 2023 and 1 in 2024. These were reported incidents but not confirmed incidents. The Nigerian Navy is always ready to collaborate. We already have MOUs with private maritime security logistics companies, recognizing the fact that the vast area is an area that we cannot clearly sustain presence at every point in time. And then this issue of establishing corridors, maritime corridors where maritime activities can suffice, I believe that is also collaborate a lot with the DSS. The the Department of State Services gives us a lot of information because they have the reach, the human intelligence. So other than the technical intelligence, we have that too. I didn't mention it in my lecture, but the Nigerian Navy established something called the choke point management regime, where we have naval security stations. So we identified about those ones that come from the backwaters. They will naturally come out from somewhere. So if we have all that present across that stretch, we should also be able to. So going forward, if the Navy can be assisted financially, if you look at the budget of the Navy has always been the lowest of the three services. So it's an issue. Logistics, funding is always an issue.
Earlier, the president of Maritime Reporters Association of Nigeria, Mr. Godfrey Bivere, had said that war risk insurance surcharges was a burden that affects not just ships owners and terminal operators, but the entire value chain, from importers and exporters to the average Nigerian consumer.
The team could not be more timely or relevant as Nigeria strives to reposition itself as the hub of maritime excellence in West Africa. The persistent imposition of war risk premium on vessels calling at our ports remains a significant obstacle to competitiveness, cost efficiency, and investor confidence. It is a burden that affects not just the ship owners and terminal operators, but the entire value chain, from importers and exporters to the average Nigerian consumer. The goal is clear: to explore actionable solutions, foster transparency, and galvanize collective effort towards lifting the war risk designation that has long shadowed our waters.
I commend the doggedness of MARAN, the Maritime Reporters Association of Nigeria, for once again bringing this issue of war risk insurance premium to the fore, as this has become a topical issue bordering on national security and trade policies. Significant progress has been made in securing Nigerian waters, with no recorded piracy incident in the last 4 years. This has been attributed to Nigeria's integrated maritime security architecture, known as the Deep Blue Project, launched in 2021, with the deployment of maritime assets, land, sea, air, and intelligence to secure the Nigerian waters.
The Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Shippers Council, Dr. Pius Akuta, who was represented by Mrs. Margaret Ogbonna, the agency's Director of Regulatory Affairs, said Nigeria has achieved a significant reduction in piracy and armed robbery attacks at sea through the combined efforts of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency (NIMASA) and the Nigerian Navy.
According to the International Maritime Bureau, the Gulf of Guinea has witnessed a consistent drop in reported incidents, culminating in a near-zero record for successful piracy attacks in Nigerian waters over the last 30 months. So this is a huge milestone achieved by Nigeria. And if that is so, it's a positive development. It's not accidental. It is a result of concerted effort of the maritime industry, heavily led by the minister and the NIMASA effort to ensure that these things are out of our waters, because it was giving us a negative image all over the world.
One clear fact was also established at the gathering, which is the urgent need for the disbursement of Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund, CVFF, for acquisition of vessels by indigenous Nigerian ship owners and operators. This was why the Secretary General of the Abuja Memorandum of Understanding (MOU), Captain Sunday MARAN, said foreign ships owners are the ones benefiting.
People that are gaining from this thing. Number one, ship owners. As Oga Greg, I had said it earlier, how many ship owners we have in Nigeria? So if we don't have a chunk in that body, it means we are not actually gaining. We need to wake up to that call. They have also been very much involved in the issue of flag registry, the two giants here, which hasn't really come up to fruition. When we get to that point of having most of the shippers or ship owners being Nigerians, bringing things into Nigeria, they can determine what they want to do. The world need not determine their freight for them. At the end of it, it's their vessel, they know how to do it.
Minister here, and I didn't do that, I think they won't forgive me. What's the purpose of what insurance? Our concerns is about the premium we are paying for nothing, if I will listen to the chairman. Because there is no war in Nigeria. Why are we paying such? Then, that's a macro that we cannot solve. But we have other charges that we can look at. So that's why I wrote a letter on behalf of Freight Forwarder to the minister on about 7% surcharge we pay on cargoes. What is it for? No response. So I'm happy to see Dr. Bolaji today, that if I say this, it will take our message. And I know MARANs will follow it off on behalf of freight forwarders. We pay 7% surcharge on cargoes. What is it for? This has been paying before the power was being concessed. And we're not talking about it. No accountability, no transparency. We'll be writing letters on this. Of course, the FOB 4% cannot be changed because it's an act, either we like it or not. But maybe we'll be there through the chairman of the occasion to go to the
Engineer Gregory Ogbeifun, the chairman of the occasion, equally stressed the need for ships acquisition.
When the minister was speaking, he said that the Joint War Risk Committee enacted the charge. And I said in my question here, who gave them the mandate? We need to know who gave them the mandate. It's a committee. Who are the members of that committee? Who formed the committee? Is Africa representatives in that committee? Is Nigeria in that committee? It's a question we must. And I've asked who takes the risk of the cargo that is being carried? If Emmanuel is importing a container of whatever from wherever, and his freight forwarder or his agent arranges for a ship to carry Emmanuel's cargo to Nigeria, I believe it's the ship owner that is taking the risk, because it's the ship that is going to be attacked. So the ship owner now goes to the insurance, and the insurance says that you'll have to insure that cargo by this amount. And then the ship owner is doing that so that if they get into Nigerian waters, they are attacked and cargo is lost, then he's protected. If he's going to take out his insurance risk, he goes to the insurance broker who reinsures it. That's the premium underwriter and the reinsure. We have to get the insurance in the UK or wherever they are. We'll say, look, like Marshall said, somebody was watching television in his house and he saw an attack in Nigeria. Let's increase the premium. We don't have a representative in the JVC. That's number one. The ship owner is the critical person, that ship, that all the insurance talk is about. Now, perhaps that ship is coming to Nigerian waters for the first time, from Europe, America, China, wherever. And all his mindset is Nigeria is full of gangsters, our waters are full of pirates. He's nervous. Now, if I own a ship trading globally, and the manual says I should go to China to bring his container. I'm not going to even think about war risk, because I know there's no war in Nigerian waters. So the ship owner has a decision whether he wants to take that risk or not, or whether he wants to pay the risk premium or not. I'm going somewhere. In the interim, we can use government engagements, we can use lawyers and see what we can do to reduce the premium. But on a long-term, sustainable basis, Nigeria has to get up and begin to carry their cargo.
While the former Director General of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, Barrister Temison Omasheye, suggested ways the federal government can handle maritime security much better.
Economies of UK, Europe, and America are collapsing. The next frontier is Africa, led by Nigeria. I am totally against going to beg anybody for anything. Let's create competition. We have it now. Let's create our own. Let's form our own insurance, whatever. Find the people that can do it. I was going to tell you to invite the Nigerian Insurance Association. Call them here. They will do it. We have the capacity and we have the capability to create our own. I'm not saying they will take us out. But first of all, we will crash the premium. When they see the crash is so low and it becomes negligible, they will pull us out. Let's create competition. We should not go and beg anybody for anything. But how can we also help? And this is when the master comes in. Administrative enforcement. Why can anyhow vessel be controlled? Under the ISDS code, a vessel cannot leave anchor from Nigeria to go to America without the Coast Guard clearing that vessel first. That's the ISDS code. You do that, you cross America, they blow you out of the water. If that is part of the requirement of the ISDS code, why can we not also impose that? Because some of these vessels that are coming in, even the master does not even know they're in Nigeria. So what then happens is that they now get attacked. So how can I protect a thief in my compound? Of course, we know they are going to carry swimming pool or whatever they are going to carry. But the moment they get attacked, they go to whatever and make a lot of noise that they've been attacked in Nigeria. But if you don't tell me you are coming to Nigeria, how can I protect you? We need to see a situation whereby any vessel coming to Nigeria must declare that they are coming and say how long they'll be in Nigeria. And it is then in the likes of C4I, Falcon, I can work better because then they can track that vessel from the moment they reach Angola to come to Nigeria. Nigeria has become a free for all. Almost like. But now our waters are safe enough to carry out operations. Now you talk about bunker operations. Look, we have extended our waters to 220, which means we are a corridor for all vessels moving now. And therefore, the bunker operations in Nigeria should be prime because we have the best bunker product of 0.5 sulfur content, if not less, in Nigeria. As I speak to you, most of the marginal, what do you call these people? Modular refineries. All their production are exports. But guess what? No bunker operations happen in Nigeria. All the bunkers are being taken to Lume for trading. And then you still bring down bunker and sell it here. Why? Because NNPPR does not have a right to bunker operation. It's running a bunker operation. Whereas we know under Marco 4 or 5, provides for bunker operation, and the bunker operation is supposed to reside in the massa. But nobody is questioning them. So what am I saying? The opportunities are so vast. Just yesterday, was I talking about? yesterday, yes, at the Women's Conference. I was saying, look, we do not have a projected plan of where we want to go. We have youth roaming the street. NSDP program, and God bless Adedosu, for he developed that concept, which I ran with, which continued, was supposed to be what we are going to use to sow the seed for the development of our maritime sector. But guess what? Many of the guys trade their time. Because let me tell you, the next set of colonization of Nigeria will come in shipping. If we do not take control of our cargoes, which we are supposed to export, the foreigners will determine where our cargoes go. Can you imagine if Donald Trump wakes up tomorrow morning and decides he's going to place a sanction on Nigeria? What do we do? What saved Iran and Russia? Because they had their own fleets. That was how they were able to bust the sanctions against them. What do we have? If they put a sanction on Nigeria tomorrow, how will Dangote ship his crude oil? One step from this. I've spoken on the war risk premium. And then what can we do even to add to this? We can create corridors on the ocean. What are the corridors? You can create a 50 by 100 nautical mile corridor. And when those vessels have gotten notice to lift anchor, you give them the coordinates of that corridor. And then we have people like Imam, then having their security boat, patrolling that corridor. So as soon as they come into that corridor, they become our responsibility. But that corridor takes you straight into port. So we know that. But we cannot control 91,000 square kilometers of water. No, we can't do that. But we can start small and begin to grow. And then we can have a small fee. Because what happens is that if you do it in the fund, you do it by whatever, you can get a small fee, a security fee, small thing, so that even then we can even have the fishing trawlers become part of it. Because you know what is happening. Our trawlers are going to the deep sea, the Chinese are attacking them, and are stealing their whatever and beating them in crews. That is why our fishing thing is okay, this security issue, that's what's going on. We know what is happening out there in the high sea.
In his wealth of experience, Amano President Emmanuel Mnangagwa educated the guests on what Merchant Book is all about.
Give you a background and then ask you to comment. There is a document called the BMP West Africa. It is the Bible for merchant crew on how to adopt best practices in high-risk environment. There is actually a BMP4, which was considered the best standard. And when the global industry encountered the risk of proliferation of arms in the Indian Ocean, a BMP5 was developed, which helped captains of the ship and security providers handle weapons without the risk, or minimizing the risk of proliferation. But that applied only to the Indian Ocean. Coming down to West Africa here, the industry considered Nigeria to be part of the complex environment. There is a security group in the UK called Security in Complex Environment. So they push for the development of a BMP West Africa. That is what a ship captain puts on the deck whenever he is approaching our water, that guides him on what to do, how to report incidents. It is important we understand, since incidents are the elements that go into the risk assessment to determine our risk profile. I will read a legal notice from the BMP West Africa. By the way, before I do that, there is a provision for reporting. If a vessel sees a skiff coming, and of course the smaller skiff are not identifiable in most cases, so you don't know who it is, and it's coming your direction when you're not expecting any boat to come to you, and you panic, and then you report using this BMP West Africa. While you're in Lagos Anchorage, you report to Abidjan. That is what the BMP West Africa says. But then you receive the report in Abidjan, and then the report is passed to the Nigerian Navy through the high command, and they start coming down. By the time it gets to Beecroft, and Beecroft is sending the Atlas Group guys to verify, the master of the vessel has heaved up his anchor and moved away, and the boat has turned away probably to wherever he's going. The opportunity to give a feedback and close out that incident has been lost. So it's going to count as in the risk profiling of Nigeria. However, in this document, there is a legal notice here that says the BMP West Africa replaces any existing regional guidance issued by the supporting signatories. One of the supporting signatories is NIMASA, which means, as far as the captain is concerned, any guideline issued by NIMASA has been replaced by this. So I'm just trying to tell you the superiority of this to the merchant crew.
One thing about war rigs, as to just like you talk about the geography, has to be from certain range of areas that are marked high risk area. Let me start my comment from the AMGAT issue. For the P&I clubs, they are against us putting armed men on board. For us as ship owners operating in Nigeria is very cheap, is cost effective for us. They prefer that you engage those British security service, maritime security service companies and escort the vessel from here to Port Harcourt or from here to Calabar or elsewhere. So clearly, even these AMCAs that we're doing, they are not happy about it. They say arms is not supposed to be on board a tanker vessel. That you are supposed to engage a security service company that will escort the ship. They will maybe 2 boats that will escort the ship. That is their own perspective. Now, on the issue of in Nigeria, when we operate in Nigeria like the local vessels, what the insurance does is that you pay the insurance premium for a year, and that since you are also operating in a high risk area constantly within the year, then there is certain fee that you also pay that provide cover for you within the period under review. But for the international vessels that we are operating, at any given time, they will crisscross any high risk area. There is what we pay, it is called additional war risk premium. That is, in addition to the war risk that, the war risk premium that you pay as part of the insurance, once your vessel visit any of these geographical areas that is considered high risk area, for the international vessel, we still pay what we call additional war risk premium. On the general note, when you pay the yearly insurance for vessels, it's done in such a way that they consider the value of the ship. For example, like the crude oil vessels, those very large crude oil tankers, which they are about $130 million in a year, you can pay more than 500 to 600,000 as insurance premium for that period. On top of that, anywhere you go in areas that have high risks, you also pay. Then another issue is that the premium that we pay for insurance is dependent on the dwell time of the ship within the high risk area. And that makes it very important that our ports, we need to improve on the facilities in the port so that as soon as this ship comes into the area, they exit quickly. That also reduces the amount of premium you pay. If, for example, you come to West Africa and you decided to spend like 3 months, maybe you have some litigations or you have some issues, the longer you stay in the port or in the high risk area, the more the additional war risk premium keeps rising. So it is very important that we have those kind of understanding.
This is revealing the burden, the war risk, which is 1, the additional war risk, which is 2, the bonus paid to the crew is part of a clause in ITF. If your ship is going to a high-risk area, the crew have the right to request for high-risk area bonus allowance, where if the owner says, I can't pay you, the crew have the right to be signed off without penalty. That is burden number 4 or 3. There is also another burden. When a ship is going to high-risk area, a security company must conduct a risk assessment. As risk assessment first, which the owner will pay. The last burden which I'm seeing in my head is regardless of the war risk, there is also the kinetic countermeasure where ships are asked to take security escort. It doesn't remove the war risk completely, it lowers it because you have taken some additional measures. So we can see the number of burdens that this situation brings. The war risk is just one of it. But clearly, I think we have been boxed into a corner while we're sleeping. And who are those leading in this risk assessment, in this insurance underwriting, in these security escorts? You may think I'm the president of Maritime Security Providers Association, and I'm one of those. We are practically logistics providers. There is no shipping company in Europe that will sign a GuardCon contract with a Nigerian company unless you are affiliated to a British, German, or any European company. That is why I think there are lawyers here. Our lawyers don't even bother to know what the GuardCon is all about. In fact, there's none of our insurance here locally will underwrite the insurance required in the GuardCon. So we have slept for too long during peace. Now it is wartime, so we have 2 battles. And this is why particularly I said to the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, there is another thing brewing. Like I said, the industry is slow to take action, but when they do, it's tough to get it away. There is another issue of drugs trafficking that has become a big burden to ship owners. The London market is still thinking on how to respond because companies are losing. I know a company that spent over $2.5 million trying to deal with that. If an insurance product is developed tomorrow because we are sleeping for too long, we will spend the next 10 to 20 years when we have cleared the issue telling them to remove it. It's investment. People don't invest for 5 years, they invest for 20, 30 years. So even if you deal with the problem now, they want to recoup their investment.
One of the issues which was talked about this war risk premium, and I'm sure many of you have read every time I say war risk premium is a fraud. The reason quite simply is that within the war risk premium policy, it states categorically that if there is no claim, they are supposed to return 90% of that money. And we're not following up on all those issues. If there is no claim, okay, if there is no claim on the war risk, on your premium you have paid, I mean, like I said, we're trying to reduce cost as well. 80 to 90% of the premium you paid the previous year is supposed to be reduced. Now, the trick they play is refunded. But what the trick they play is that if you have no claim, the next year they'll take 10% of, they do what they call a no claims bonus. They do a no claims bonus on you. But it's not supposed to be a no claims bonus. They're supposed to return that money to you and even still implement the no claims bonus. Now, why we got involved in it at that time was that we were hearing then that these premiums was being paid, but next to nil claim was being made. So it was just like free cash going into the JWC. That's one. Two, the next issue is about the issue of armed guard, and I've always fought against armed guard. I am more in support of patrol vessels than armed guard, because armed guard, IMO does not allow armed guard on board commercial vessels. It is totally against international convention. But we have thrown all international conventions out into the sea. I understand the ship owners say, no, we must have armed guard on board, but that is not allowed internationally.
The Nigerian Navy, today if you look at the Coast Guard cutter that goes out for patrol, I'm just giving you an example in the US, is that there is an officer of the Coast Guard that is specifically trained in narcotics, that there is an officer that is specifically trained in violations of MARAN conventions. There is an officer that is trained in trafficking of arms, all the threats. So when the Coast Guard cutter encounter that incident, that particular officer lead the investigation. That is because they want to pay attention to collection and preservation of evidence, as well as prosecution. For anyone who wants to prosecute somebody, he will want to be sure he has the evidence. If he doesn't have it, he wouldn't want to start. Now, the Nigerian Navy doesn't function that way, DG. Do you think that there is a need for a joint patrol between the Nigerian Navy, even if it is not on a consistent basis, from time to time, incorporating the Nigerian Customs, the Nigerian Immigrations, the NDLEA, when they go out for this patrol? Do you think it's a solution that can help us address the risk so that we can have prosecution? I want you to respond to that, and then
security in our waterways. The police, which is the Marine Police, has clear-cut job description of within the inland waterways and up to 3 nautical miles. Now, when we were DG, when I was DG, so we were all DG anyway, so no problem. We had engaged the Marine Police at Awolowo Road at that time. And at that time, we were willing to provide all their OPEX relating to fueling, buying of assets, trading them for patrol and everything to handle the inland waterways. That is to take care of all the issues related, because we knew what there is. Look, NIMASA cannot reinvent the wheel, irrespective of the international conventions for which Nigeria is a signatory to. We already have institutions which have very well-trained officers that can carry out these roles. The Navy already are trained on military, but also they also carry out what we call Coast Guard functions. But their mindsets are more military-oriented. Now, people that created IMO for commercial shipping are not people who are stupid. They understood what they were doing. And that is why you find out in many countries there are clear-cut roles being played by each party, but it has interwoven. Now let me explain. And sometimes when they keep saying they are passing Coast Guard bill, I say, what are you passing Coast Guard bill for? Coast Guard function is already signed up to based on the international conventions for which we are signing up. 2, already we have a platoon of naval officers, over 100 officers, am I correct, in NIMASA, under the Maritime Guard Command, which are performing Coast Guard roles, which means even the Navy recognizes that they are Coast Guard roles which are supposed to be carried out by them. Navy are saying they are looking for money. You don't need money. You don't need to look for money. NIMASA has money. All you need is collaboration. Because with all due respect, Navy just the chest. They don't get money. NIMASA has money.
And NIMASA is willing to make that investment. And what you need is a collaboration. Look, even in the US government, on the deck sometimes, you have a Coast Guard captain who is normally a retired naval officer and a naval officer. When it comes to Coast Guard functions, the US Navy drops the flag and raises the Coast Guard flag, and it becomes a Coast Guard vessel. That is collaboration, as far as I'm concerned. And let me just tell you the truth. When we were in NIMASA at that time, we were going to buy 28 vessels, 4 frigates, what was going to be staying out there for 30 days and then whatever. Now, these were going to be built by Damen Shipyard and it was going to cost 103 million euros. And the Dutch government gave us that money on loan, 3% over 10 years. But we never proceeded. The aim of that was basically for us to have those vessels, similar to what NPA is doing with LCM, have people to manage it, but the Navy will be the one. Now, talking about this, everybody has to collaborate because out there you have drug pushers, you have all kinds of people. So all of them have to be on board that same vessel to carry out that functions because the maritime crime are quite wide and they are quite vast. So my own take on all of this is that we should not compete against each other, but try as much as possible to collaborate. Thank you.
That's our package. Stay tuned for more from Seabed and Bunkers.
We'll come your way again with another top story.